I'm Dr. Julia Spinello, and welcome to Medical Girl Mystical World. Today, my guest is Michelle Lee. Michelle is an energy reader, transmutation specialist who uses Pythagorean Numerology to help clients lifetime, past, present, and future. She works to transform energy patterns to accomplish goals in healing relationships. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Yay! So tell me, what is transmutation specialty of numerology?
What I do is, with numerology, I'm looking for patterns in people's personalities and patterns of energy that is in their spirit and in their physical planes and how it carries out in their personalities.
Now, do you do that with the numbers, or do you have that intuition where you can read somebody?
It's both. Okay. So originally when I started doing sessions, I would just read people naturally, but I started seeing patterns. So I was picking up patterns throughout my life, and so that led me to kind of numerology. And then when I got involved with learning Pythagorean Numerology, I started realizing that I could easily see these patterns in people's charts. And it would help me to help them overcome some things that they had in their charts, or to take other things and even bump them up to help them in different ways.
So with the patterns, because that's one thing that I've noticed going through life is that I realize my patterns of behavior. I try to change those. So when you are looking at somebody's chart and you see the patterns, is it possible to, I mean, I know that we have free will, but is it possible to change the script of that?
Yes, it is possible to change the script of that. When I'm doing notations on people's numbers, like you just saw me doing it with your friend here, so I was doing those, I immediately saw a pattern that we'll talk about later with him, which is something that he came here to overcome, and I'll look for different numbers that are missing in the area that I see it and help incorporate those number energies into his chart to help him overcome maybe things I see. So it's finding those patterns. When I was doing yours, I found a lot of very intense, strong vibratory patterns. And then I can find, with different individuals, I can find certain what I call indicators where there's certain numbers and energy missing. And then how to help them overcome those lack of energy patterns. So I can see patterns. I can see ADD patterns. I can see bipolar tendency patterns. I can find hypersensitivity type of patterns. I can find determination patterns, people who have to be organized in planning. I can find patterns of materialism. So there's all these different types of patterns I can find. And then we work with, if some of them are too strong, then we work with numbers around those patterns to try to like bring them into a normal type of energy.
So when you analyze this, you are looking at our birthday, our full name given at birth.
Yes.
What else? Is there anything else?
Well, I'll take you a little bit back to kind of the history of numbers.
Perfect. That's exactly where we wanted to go.
So what it comes to is I consider, well, all numerologists consider, and scientists, numbers the universal language. So much of a universal language that I always make a little joke that if aliens came here and we were to communicate with them, we would most likely communicate in numbers.
Right.
So because it's just universal across the board, numbers have always meant the same exact thing. And if you can understand, which I'm sure you do, understand the concept of everything is energy.
Right.
So then each number has an energetic pattern. And then when we put them together in different ways, it makes an even different energetic pattern. So I look for those patterns in people. So when you're born under a certain energy pattern of just like, kind of like with astrology, the same thing. Numerologists kind of consider numbers the chicken before the egg. Like the numbers came before astrology, because we look at numbers as in the beginning of creation or the Big Bang, where 1 is the word, it's the beginning. 2 would be what that word attracts to it, and so you have a connection. And then 3 would be creation, so things create. And then all number patterns come out of that. So we feel like scientifically, that's how we came into being. So it was from this explosion of number energy types of patterns, which we see in cycles in everybody's life, and we see it in cycles of the earth and everything that happens is all based on numbers.
Right.
So I decided to look at numbers and how they fell into people's lives and how they affect their lives.
How did you get interested in this?
Well, I've always been what you call high sensitive, just very sensitive to energy. I grew up in a very kind of high energy family, so it was very hard growing up in that environment. And then I've always been very sensitive to energy and was able to read people and read places throughout my life. And then as I got older, I just started, instead of letting it deteriorate my life, so people who are very energy sensitive can have a lot of breakdowns, a lot of hard times in life, I decided that, this is kind of a superpower. I'm going to take it and I'm going to streamline it and use it. I always wanted to be in service to other people. That's just always what I've wanted to do, is to somehow, this is something I'm gifted with. I want to figure out a way to use it to be in service to others. And so I've always been attracted to patterns and numbers. And so I started studying under one of the most well-known numerologists. He's in Houston, Texas, Hans D. Codes, and he teaches Pythagorean Numerology. I started studying, and I saw how it fit everything. It was just like everything fits. This makes sense. And then so as I started applying it into my sessions with people, where normally I was just reading their energy, this time I started employing the numbers into it, and it was just far more accurate. Very, very accurate.
It's an excellent tool to use for your readings.
It's a tool.
So do you do readings where people just contact you and you do?
Yeah. So I do sessions, FaceTime, Skype, phone sessions. I have clients all across the United States. I work with realtors when they're trying to sell homes or properties, business owners trying to sell their businesses and open up new businesses, research facilities trying to put teams together. I'll put teams together and help them do it with the numbers on the charts, putting teams together. So it's a lot of fun. But most of the work I do is one-on-one with clients. My favorite thing that I do is helping parents understand their children.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to do.
That's excellent. So when you're talking about that with our different relationships with people, as time goes on, everybody has their different energy patterns.
That's right.
So is it where, like a mother and child, they have the good times and the bad times, and
that's right,
to work out? That's fascinating.
Well, like for instance, I had a mother and father who came to me and we did a Skype session, and they were concerned about a young adult son. And this father called him his lost child. Well, when I did, the father had these very solid numbers, what I call 1, leadership numbers, 4, solid foundation numbers, very work driven and all this. Well, when I did the child's chart, I saw this child had what we call master numbers, which are very intense energy patterns that come in through a chart. And when I find master energy numbers, that usually means a child that came into this life to master a very large spiritual concept and in some way try to be of service to others. And this child was going through a very hard time, involved with people he probably shouldn't have been involved with. But I tried to explain it to these parents as he came here with numbers that were completely different. He's on a spiritual mission. He's trying to learn things so that he can be able to help people in the future. And I told him, I said, if you look back at different masters that came here to teach, like Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who came here, well, he was known to be around people who nobody else will be around, the dregs of humanity or something like that, because he was here to learn their ways and understand them so that he could help and heal.
So what's a master number?
A master number is when I'm telling somebody's numbers and I get to 2 numbers that are exactly the same.
Okay.
And I don't deduce them any further. So that would be an 11, a 22, a 33, and on. Okay. So 11, 22, and 33 are considered the master numbers. My life path is a master number 33. That's considered the spiritual healer, and it's somebody who's here for a lot of sacrificial type of stuff. Okay. So it's sacrificing yourself in honor to help others. So
how do you get that? Because what I've done with my little numerology, looking online, is that you add them up and then you deduce it.
That's right. You're deducing.
So how do you get to that master number? Because if it's 33, how come you're not saying that it's 6.
Okay. Well, and see, here's the thing. Like, for instance, when I would do yours on your life path.
And she's going to go through mine. She's going to do my chart for you guys.
So when I was doing yours, I get to a 27 with you. Okay, so that 27 has a very specific energy. And then when I deduce it to find your life path, that would be a 9.
Right.
So when I get to numbers that come down to a 22 or a 33 or an 11, I deduce those in my mind. It kind of gives me a secondary life path, but the main life path would be that double digit number. And what they show me is somebody who came in with an extreme amount of energy of that number that I would deduce it to.
Okay.
So like, for instance, mine is a life path 33. If I deduce that, that would be a 6.
Right.
Well, the 6 is the number of the caregiver, the home. I find a lot of people who stay home and take care of their families and love to provide a happy family, happy home. A lot of those are 6s. Okay. So, and every number has a good side and a bad side, just like a coin. So there's a flip side to everything. So I look for finding people who are in their path or off of their path and how to get them back on it.
So where do all these numbers come from? How was this all created, and where you're deducing numbers and it equals this certain number? Okay. Explain all of that to me.
So when a spirit comes into life here in this earth, they are born under specific energy patterns. And we look at the birth date, which would be a lot of energy, and the name that they came with is very important. So numerologists are not looking really at the time of birth. It can place a little bit of emphasis on some things, but mainly we're looking at the date of birth, and we're looking at the name that the person is born with. And each letter in the name is given a specific numerological value. Okay. And so when I'm doing a chart, luckily I have software now, but in the old day, I used to just literally, add numbers and deduce numbers in all different ways. But when I'm looking for different things about a personality, I'm adding up these numbers. Like, for instance, somebody's life path would be just their birth date. So we're adding up the numbers of the birth date, and then we deduce them to the smallest value. When I'm looking for somebody's expression or their destiny number, that would be every single numerological value of the consonants and the vowels in their name. So I would add up all those numbers and then deduce them. And so when I'm looking for all the different things in someone's personality and their life, many different things, I'm just adding and deducing numbers in different types of ways, looking for those patterns.
I get it with the date of birth, but the name thing trips me up. I mean, how accurate is that?
Very accurate.
Really?
Yes. And one thing I tried to explain to people is, in a way, I feel like as a spirit, when you're coming here into this earth, that maybe a lot of times the spirit has a way of kind of pushing their idea of the name that they need to be born with to their parents.
I've heard of that.
And I can tell you very specifically, I have 4 children. So my last daughter, I had 2 different names picked out for her. And one was Samantha and one was Morgan. So I had 2 different names picked out.
So let me pause here. Did you do the numerology when you picked them out? Or did you
Not
just
at
decide?
Not at that time.
You're like, what's a really good number for this kid to have a really good life?
I just had specific names I liked. I wanted her to come with a name that it could be cute. If she came out a cutesy girl, it could be Sammy or something like that. Yeah. But if she wants to be serious, it could be Samantha. So I had these names picked out. Well, my 3 older kids, we were out of town at a family member's house, and they were watching Splash. So my youngest daughter, she's 19 now, but at this time, so the older kids were watching it, and that the mermaid said her name was Madison. And so my kids right then said, no, let's make her name Madison. So I thought, okay, I did. But I feel like that was her spirit saying, this is what my name's going to be.
Gotcha.
So, but I do find people who change their names, and it does add a little difference. I can see how someone was trying to change things in their personality or overcome different things by changing their names. So yes, I do see that too.
What about these parents that name their kids crazy ass names and they spell them really strange? I'm sorry, I just had to put that out there. Because some of them, they put a Y where there was an I and to make it unique. And it's oh my goodness.
And it brings out unique things in their chart.
Okay.
So usually it's all that energy that they put together in those letters It does bring out very specific things in their personality. It absolutely does.
That's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So like I have all your numbers done.
Okay.
So I have a lot about you.
Okay, shall we do this?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so I already knew this, that my life number is a 9.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But break this all down for me and tell me.
Okay, well, the first thing that I'm looking at is I'm looking for some main personality features. Mm-hmm. This is software that I'm looking at that I have in my phone where I run numbers, and it tells me a lot of different things about where you're going, what's coming, different things we would look at. Okay. So when I'm in a session with somebody and they're asking me specific questions, I'm referring to their numbers and looking at that as we're looking at stuff. So the main thing I want to look at is I have a little kind of tic-tac-toe thing I make. Mm-hmm. And this kind of shows me where different energy patterns are in your system. Spiritual, physical, mental type of system. Okay. And I'm looking for things that meet. You have very, very strong characteristics. So where I would find a lack of, there would be an empty circle. I would find empty lines. Okay. Where somebody has something they're trying to overcome. Okay. Mm-hmm. So yours are, the first thing I would notice is I would have these 1s, 5, and 9s form this line. I call that the arrow of determination. So that shows true. Somebody who's highly determined. Yeah. So I know that you have even had, when I'm talking to people who come up and they have a sickness, an illness that comes through, and I see that type of determination, I can already know that they will overcome this illness. Mm-hmm. So that just shows me. So the 1s, the 5, and the 9s, if you look at birth dates that would have 1, 5s, and 9s, we'll be looking at the 1950s mm-hmm. or anywhere in the 1900s and look at all the big things that changed from like before the 1900s. Mm-hmm. We went through the Industrial Revolution. We just had massive amounts of different things that, we're in a technical revolution right now. Mm-hmm. So those 1s, 5s, and 9s in people's chart cause this push and energy of forward movement and moving in all these determined people to change things. So that's determination. And then I look at this 3, 5, and 7, and this shows me deep philosophy and high spirituality. Mm-hmm. So of course you would be doing this. So you're determined to do something in spirituality-based philosophy type of forms. So this would be the big thing I'm looking at. Then I find these 3 1s down here at the bottom, and I look for this, and this shows me how people can verbalize themselves. Mm-hmm. And these 3 1s down at the bottom of your determination shows me somebody who's very chatty and articulate. So that I already knew. Okay, she's going to be chatty and articulate. So I already knew that ahead of time. So these are just little jotting them down where you can see the things I'm looking at. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at. So this is what I consider, you see these numbers all across the chart is a very, very balanced birth chart. Wonderful. Automatically. Yay. Very, very balanced. And then what I'm looking for is I'm looking for different things in your personality. This is what I call spiritual mapping or your life path. Okay. So it lets me know what your spirit chose to do in this lifetime, how to do it, and where we're going. Okay. So what I'm looking at are what are called core numbers. There are 6 core numbers. You can see.
Can you see this?
So there are 6 core numbers that we're looking at that show me the main things about what your spirit came here to do, accomplish, and how to get there. Okay. So your life path is a 9, which that is the humanitarian. So that shows me somebody who was here to come to help humanity in a big way.
Now, let me stop you right there. I've always known that I've been an old soul. Mm-hmm. So are 9s necessarily, since that's the end of the thing, are we all, the people that are 9s, are we all old souls?
Well, I can find a 1 who's an old soul.
Okay.
So it just usually, I can see by what people were trying to learn, what they came here to do. So a lot of times when I find master numbers, that's going to definitely show me an old soul who's coming here that shows me something they've been trying to accomplish over and over in several lifetimes, and they're supposed to master it in this lifetime. Okay. But looking at the numbers don't necessarily show me an old soul. But when we get to these high spiritual numbers, like a 9, that's the highest spiritual number. That's a number of completion. So I would assume, looking at this number, that you have been doing a lot of things in several other lifetimes to lead you up to where you can do this right here, right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so your destiny number is what I call what you're destined to do with your life path. Okay. And that's an 8. I call that the powerhouse. So an 8.
How did you get that my number's an 8?
Yes, your number is an 8. That's your destiny number. So that's the powerhouse number.
Okay.
Again, we're looking at an 8 and 9. So we're talking about high spiritual numbers. When we start with 1s, that's self. Okay. That's the very beginning. 2 is connecting with another. Mm-hmm. So 2s are about connections, meeting other people, building relationships. 3 becomes the creative number, creating new things, creation. That's where we find a lot of performers and creative type people. Mm-hmm. And then the numbers continue to build up. So the 4 would be those that are about stable foundations, just building the firm foundations of life. Yours is a double 4. That's an 8. Mm-hmm. So that shows me somebody who not only wants to build stable foundations, but you want to build stable foundations to help humanity. Okay. So your destiny is building this stable foundation for helping humanity in some sort of way. It's very, very humanitarian numbers. 8s are moneymaker numbers. So
I like that.
The 8s are the money makers. So we call them the powerhouse. They are the ones that have the ability to make money and make money for others. Mm-hmm. And they want to be able to use it for others.
Right.
So when I put your 2 numbers together, these 2 main numbers, the 9 and the 8, what I come together with is, so the 9 is about leading, service, and humanitarian work. The 8 is about manifesting power and authority. And so put those together, and that's a very philanthropic type of number. Mm-hmm. And it's about being a compassionate giver for humanity. So that's the main thing about you. And then I look at your soul number, which shows me what it is deep down inside you that you want the very most in life. And for you, it's a 4. So that shows me who wants a very stable foundation of living.
That is so on point. Mm-hmm. That is so on point. I am like, this is so cool.
So deep down, you want just that stable, firm, reliability type of life. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times when I find that deep desire in some, it can show me somebody who had a hard time with that early in life.
Yeah.
Show me somebody who didn't have stable foundations or firm foundations that made it hard. So deep down inside their soul, that's what they desire the most. Okay. And then I look at your personality number, and this shows me how you show yourself to others. And we have that 4 again. Okay. So that 4 shows me that people see you as somebody who's stable. Yep. Somebody who's got these firm foundations. You can provide firm foundations for others when their life is topsy-turvy. Mm-hmm. You may bring that solid shoulder for people who are going through topsy-turvy time. And then your birthday number, some people call it the sun number. This shows me just kind of a large energy that you were born under. This just kind of encompasses your whole aura. Mm-hmm. That's a 6. That's the caregiver. So that shows me overall your philanthropy, your authoritarian, being able to build things for people is all in a way of due to your love for others. Mm-hmm. So that caring, nurturing spirit that you have. And then now I have what we call the maturity number. And this is where I can spot somebody's midlife crisis if they're off their path or what they should be at. And we find the midlife crisis to be somewhere around 50. It can be 45 to 55. It's just that crisis point, that midlife time. And so this would show me somebody, this would show me where somebody should be right around that time in their life. If they're not, then they're having a midlife crisis. Okay. And I can tell a wife, a lot of times, this is what, if a wife calls me because her husband is having a midlife crisis, we'll look and I'll say, this is what his crisis is over. Right. So yours is that 8. So it shows me that right here about this time in your life, you're in that powerhouse philanthropy, building bigger, better things and structures for the world at large. So you're in it. Now, if you weren't, you'd be having a midlife crisis and driving a little red Corvette or whatever it took. Do you understand? So
could I, not that I would, but can people like slip out of that and not be off track with their numbers?
Oh, yeah. People are off track very often. So, and that's the thing. When people are calling me having a hard time in their life, We look at the numbers and then try to figure out how to help them get there.
That's so cool.
And let's see. So there's a lot of different things I look at. I know we don't have time to go through all this, but I see that you're going into a time that your challenge in your life is going to be about just like you, like taking care of yourself, just you, just taking care of you, like, taking care of yourself, doing for yourself, because you're doing so much for everybody else all the time. So that's showing me it can be a little challenge for you right there.
Okay.
Your pinnacle and your period cycles, this shows me what is going on with the rest of your life. There are 2 and a 3.
I want to know that.
There are 2 and a 3. So it shows me the big energy that around you right now is going to be making connections and creating great things. So that'll be what's going on the rest of your life.
I'm loving this reading.
And then I look at your cycles of life.
Oh, goodness.
Which shows me the energy patterns of your life in years, months, and days.
Wow.
So we talk about the cycles of life from 1 to 9. 1 is the beginning. 9 would be the ending. And so I'm looking at those cycles, and this helps me gauge when people are trying to ask, like, when would be a good time for me to sell? When will I meet the person that I will love? When is this going to happen? When is a good time for this? I'm looking at their cycles of energy to find out when the right time is. This can help me tell a person when the best time is to interview for certain jobs, stuff like that. So something that you have been dealing with, large energy pattern over the last 7, 8, 9 years is coming to a close for you, and you're going on to a new energy pattern. So I know with you have dealt with an illness in the past.
Yeah.
So I see that as being completely behind you. So I can see that would be a large pattern that's closing off totally in the past, going into a brand new energy pattern. So I don't know enough personally about you to know what you're closing down or what you're moving on to. But I feel like what you're doing right here is part of that new beginning.
Okay.
So I don't know how long you've been doing this, but I feel like that's part of that new beginning process that you're in.
Awesome.
This will go further and get bigger.
Did y'all hear that on the Lighter Side Network? We're going global. That's great. I'd love to. I do tell people that if I could do this all the time, I'd definitely do it. My question, I get kind of like anxious when we have these patterns, and when they end, so I'm on a roll now, and I'm like, holy shit, this pattern's going to end in a couple of months. What do we have now?
No, that's because your overall year time is you're going through that big ending. You're going through that big ending cycle going into next year, which is a 1 year, which is all the brand new, bringing all the new stuff in. So like you said, you're closing down, you're selling off old items. So that's very much that 9. It ends for you pretty much right away. You're moving into an energy of brand new movement going forward.
Yeah.
So it's happening, and you're feeling it. You're feeling the ending, but that's just natural. But you're going into next year. It's going to start with the 1. You're going to go right into that 1 brand new beginning, and you're feeling it now, which is what's causing you to feel a little nervous.
Yeah.
Because you're feeling that forward trajectory, but you have still stuff that's kind of holding you back. You've got the stuff that you're trying to get rid of. So you're feeling that energy already take place. That caused some of the anxiety. But as soon as that is gone, that anxiety will go away.
This is so freaking cool. I love this. This is so awesome. So what happens when you're running somebody's numbers and you see something that's like bad news coming their way?
Well, I don't see... Every number has a positive and a negative. Okay. I would find it more in this little tic-tac-toe type of thing that I do here. And I'm looking at, this is our spirit line, this is our soul, our self, and this is physical. So I can find different things. Like I might find, if I found a whole bunch of numbers down on this bottom line.
Can you show the camera again with this?
If I found a whole bunch of numbers on the bottom line, I would find somebody highly materialistic. Okay. So I might find, if I'm dealing with a relationship, I might be finding somebody who's a shopaholic. I might be finding somebody who's too overly involved in the materialisms of life. And then we would work on trying to pull their energy back up into different areas.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for, is these patterns. I could find, if I find somebody like that, I could find somebody who's highly athletic. If I find somebody that doesn't have any numbers right here, I'm finding somebody who's the bull in the China China shop, somebody who's going to trip over this and fall into that. They don't have a lot of energy pattern down on the physical plane, so their head's kind of in the clouds, so they're falling over stuff a lot.
That would be my husband.
So it's just looking at
We're going to have a session with him later.
So it's just looking at those patterns. And like with Jesse, looking at that, I can see that he's got these patterns of a lot of energy on the left side and a lot of energy on the right side, but not a meeting in the middle that would connect them. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of numbers on your left and a bunch of numbers on your right, but you have this connecting 5 right in the middle, which is perfect. So with him, I would ask him to develop the 5 that you have in yours, which will help him kind of connect that left and right side.
And this is what I love about...
The 5 is about fun and adventure.
Yeah.
So he needs to not take himself so seriously. He needs to have fun.
See, hear that?
He needs to get out in nature. He needs to go exploring.
Yeah.
It needs to be more fun. We'll kind of settle that for him.
What I love about your method is that you're doing all of this, mm-hmm. but you're taking it where a person can become their better self, right. and to incorporate what they tell you, and you're giving the... okay, you need to do this. I think that's so wonderful. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, okay, well, this says this, and okay, there you go. Yeah. And have them figure the out what's going on. Right. And I love that. I love it that you personalize it and then you tell people, this is what I see. This is what you need to do. Mm-hmm. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
That's wonderful work. I know we're kind of going long on time, but I'm just enjoying this so much. Tell me your take on synchronicities and numbers. Okay. For example, a lot of people see 1111
That's
and
right.
Or 222 or 333 and all of that. Mm-hmm. And my understanding is that it is, our spirit guides or our higher self telling us that we're on the right track.
I have a little take on that. I'm actually writing a blog about synchronicity right now.
Perfect.
So Carl Jung was the first person who actually acknowledged the phenomenon of synchronicity. Mm-hmm. And what he called it was a series of acausal events that come together and seem to have a specific meaning. And he would talk to people. He would have clients with him in session. And one time a client was talking about a dream of a scarab, like a golden scarab that was in his dream. And Carl Jung kept hearing a tapping noise that was just driving him crazy behind his client. He went to go see what was happening at the window, mm-hmm. and it was a beetle. So it was just kind of like, there's a beetle, coincidence. So it's kind of a series of coincidental events mm-hmm. that don't really have meaning, but they happen over and over. And so they seem to make you feel like there's a cause. And so usually what I say is when people are in line with their chart and their plan and the way that their spirit is moving, mm-hmm. they will start finding these series of synchronistic type events like the 1111. Mm-hmm. Now, I work with numbers, so if people are telling me I'm seeing 1111, I'm seeing 222 or 444, I look at those numbers and it kind of helps me understand what the issue is, that their spirit, or I just say it's energy that we're drawing to ourselves, okay? So we start noticing these things. So if somebody is seeing the 1111, that's letting you know you're right. It could be you're on the right path, but other times it could be the hunches and feelings you're having are correct. Okay. So somebody may be having bad feelings about something, like, I'm not so sure this is the right house for me. Mm-hmm. And then they start seeing 11111. Well, that may be letting them know that, no, that's not the right house for you. Your feelings that you're having mm-hmm. are correct. That's not the right house for you. So if I see somebody who may be seeing 555s, that's usually about, it's time for fun, it's time for freedom. What you're doing is going to provide you fun and freedom. So it's just drawing in an energy to us. So if you're on your right path, you're going to draw that energy to you. If you're off your path and not going in the right direction, the opposite of synchronicity would be a series of unfortunate events. Mm. So there's the series of synchronistic events and the series of unfortunate events. So that's where things just start happening over and over wrong. That usually means, hey, get on your path. You're off. Right. So if somebody comes to me and they're having bad thing after bad thing after bad thing, I know right away, well, we're not on the right place. We're not there. So we work to get in line with where their energy should be, and then they start seeing synchronicities.
That's so cool. Mm-hmm. So what's your favorite number?
Oh gosh, let's see. My favorite is 7s. 7s are really big for me. So that's just, I've always had my wedding is a 4-leaf clover, lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is all about sevens. At the 3 sevens I see, which would be 21, which is 3. It's a very creative number. So mine is always luck. Mine's about luck and good luck and lucky things happening. So I love it when I see the sevens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. Okay, so at the end of my show, I like to ask 5 random questions.
Okay.
Just to kind of get off subject to let the viewers know a little bit more about you as a person. Okay, first question. What's your favorite emoji?
Let's see. That would be that real happy smiley face with like the pink
little
cheeks. That's my favorite one.
Okay. Who would you have play you in a movie or a play?
Oh, this will go back old school.
Okay.
Jacqueline Smith.
Totally.
Jacqueline Smith.
Yeah, you look just like her.
I do. No.
Yes, you do.
Well, I remember the show that she was on, and I just always thought she was just so pretty. I just thought something about Jacqueline Smith. She was classy and pretty. So Jacqueline Smith, yeah.
I would see that, now that you say it, or Joan Collins.
Oh, okay.
A younger Joan Collins.
Oh, I can do Joan Collins.
Oh, my goodness.
I can play Joan Collins.
What do you procrastinate on the most?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Probably, I just learned that I work best, like when the time is short. I seem to like concentrate really well. So I procrastinate on a lot.
That's funny.
Christmas. I procrastinate on Christmas.
See? Okay, Christmas. At the movies, candy or popcorn?
Oh, definitely popcorn.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Okay.
Driver.
Excellent. There were your 5 questions. Thank you so much. So, Michelle, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, you can contact me on my website on Facebook, which is facebook.com/MichelleLeeInc.com.
Okay.
And I'm also on Instagram at Michelle Lee Inc. And you can also see me on MichelleLeeNumerology.com. So that's a website I have.
Perfect. And you do readings in person, or do you do them all remotely?
I do them usually. I started out doing them in person, but I have them kind of all over the United States now. Mm-hmm. I do them by phone, which can be recorded, and I send them the track. Mm-hmm. And I do them by FaceTime and Skype as well. And I do location readings, so that would be where I do the location cleansing and energy readings.
Yeah, so. I think everybody is going to want to get your information after seeing you on this show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate being here.
Yay.
So thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And remember, your health is not just about medicine. Bye.